let's get one thing straight. If you're stuck, if your life isn't going the way you want, if you keep blaming everyone else for your problems, that's on you. Yeah, I said it. No one else is responsible for your happiness but you. And if that triggers you, good. Because today, we're talking about the hard truth, escaping the victim mindset. Take Rue from Euphoria, stuck in addiction, pain, and endless excuses. She blamed the world for her problems until she realized the brutal truth. She was the only one who could save herself. And guess what? So are you. Okay, ladies, let's be real. How many of you have ever felt like life just isn't playing fair? Like no matter what you do, everything seems to go wrong. Cue the dramatic sigh. Trust me, we've all been there. Before we dive into the video, let's see if you might be stuck in a victim mentality. Be honest here. Answer yes or no to these 3 questions. 1. Do you often think, why does this always happen to me? Does God or the universe has some kind of personal vendetta against you? 2. Do you find yourself blaming other people for why things in your life aren't going right? Like your boss, your friends, or your partner are somehow all in on making your life harder? 3. And here's a big one. Do you ever catch yourself thinking, I'm stuck and there's nothing I can do about it? If you're nodding along to these questions or whispering a guilty yes to yourself, don't worry, you're not alone. But here's the thing, girl, that mindset, it's keeping you stuck. And the faster we get rid of it, the faster you're going to start living the life you actually deserve. Let's break it down. A victim mentality is when you're constantly blaming your circumstances, your past, or other people for your unhappiness. It's that little voice that says, I'm stuck because of everything that's happened to me. And while it might feel so real in the moment, it's the exact thing keeping you from moving forward. Just like Rue from Euphoria, she was always blaming her addiction, her family, and her situation. And yes, her struggles were real, but by staying in that mindset, she gave all her power away. She wasn't controlling her life. She was letting her circumstances control her. Sound familiar? Now here's the good news. You don't have to stay in that victim mentality forever. In today's video, we're going to break down 5 powerful steps to help you escape that woe is me mindset and start living like the boss you were meant to be. And we're taking inspiration from Rue's transformation, how she went from being stuck in her pain to slowly reclaiming her life. Because let's be real, we all want to channel a little more of Zendaya energy into our lives. So let's get started. Step 1, stop giving others power. All right, step 1 is a big one. Stop giving others power over your happiness. I know, easier said than done, right? But here's the truth. Every time you blame someone else for how you feel or for the situation you're in, you're handing them the remote control to your life. And girl, why are you letting other people change your channel? Take Rue, for example. Throughout Euphoria, she constantly gave other people power over her emotions. If her mom said something that hit too close to home, she'd spiral. If Jules didn't act the way she expected, she'd break down. It was like her mood, her entire life, was dependent on how others treated her. But the moment you let someone else control how you feel, you're no longer in charge. You're just reacting. And here's the hard truth. People are going to disappoint you. They're not always going to understand what you're going through, and they're not always going to be perfect. But that doesn't mean they get to dictate your happiness. Practical tip. So, what do? You take back your power. The next time someone says something that triggers you, take a deep breath and ask yourself, do I really want to let them control how I feel right now? Spoiler alert, the answer is no. You don't have to react to every little thing people do or say. Rue's biggest mistake was letting others have too much power over her emotions. But you're going to recognize that you're the only one responsible for your happiness. So, when people try to bring you down or change your vibe, don't give them the satisfaction. Because honey, the only person holding the remote to your life should be you. So, if someone's out here trying to flip the channel to drama, hit that pause button and keep it moving. Taking back your power means recognizing that you're in control of your emotions, no one else. Rue didn't realize this until it was too late, but you have the chance to make that change right now. Step 1 is simple. Stop giving others the power to control your happiness. You're the boss, so act like it. Step 2, you are not your past. All right, ladies, let's get real about step 2. You are not your past. I don't care what you've been through, what mistakes you've made, or how many times you've fallen. Your past does not define your future. The only way it does is if you let it. Take a look at Rue. She was completely haunted by her past, her addiction, the people she hurt, the mistakes she made. Every bad choice felt like it was chaining her to this version of herself she couldn't escape. And let's be honest, haven't we all felt like that at some point? Like your past has too much power over who you are now. But here's the deal. Your past only holds the power you give it. If you keep replaying your mistakes over and over, of course, you're going to feel stuck. But if you decide that those mistakes are lessons, not life sentences, you'll start to see that your future is completely up to you. Practical tip. So how do you shake off the weight of your past? You reframe it. Stop seeing your past as a prison and start seeing it as a teacher. Every mistake you've made, that's a lesson that's going to help you make better choices in the future. Just like Rue had to learn, you're not stuck in your past. You're learning from it. Every single mistake you made got you here, but it doesn't have to keep you here. So close that chapter and start writing the next one. Think of it this way. Your past is like a pair of old shoes that no longer fit. They were part of your journey, sure, but it's time to toss them in the trash. Get yourself some fresh kicks and walk toward your future in style. Remember, ladies, your past doesn't get to decide your future unless you let it. Rue might have made mistakes, but the moment she started to believe she could change, she started to, and so can you. Your story isn't over yet. It's just getting started. So let's keep moving forward. Step 3. Shift from why me to thank you. Now, I know this sounds crazy. How on earth are you supposed to be thankful for the hard stuff, right? But here's the secret. Every challenge, every setback is pushing you to grow. And if you stay stuck in the why me mindset, you're only holding yourself back. Rue spent so much time asking, why me? Why did she have to deal with addiction? Why did she lose so many people? Why couldn't she just live a normal life? But that mindset only made her feel more trapped, more hopeless, like the world was just against her. But here's the thing. Rue didn't start healing until she flipped the script. Instead of focusing on why these things were happening, she began to focus on what she could learn from them. And that's where the shift happens. When you stop thinking the world is against you and start thinking it's shaping you for something better. Practical tip. So, how do you make this shift in your own life? Here's a trick I love. When something tough happens, take a second to write it down. Then, next to it, write out one thing you can learn from it. For example, let's say you didn't get that promotion you were hoping for. Instead of sulking with a why me attitude, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Maybe it's showing you where you need to grow. Maybe it's teaching you patience. This isn't about pretending everything's perfect. It's about recognizing that even the hardest moments are teaching you something. When you shift from why me to thank you for the lesson, you reclaim control. You go from being stuck in the pain to being in charge of your growth. Let's be real. Asking, why me, only gives you more problems. Saying, thank you? Well, that brings in the glow-up vibes. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. Step 4, face your reality. Look, we've all been there, pretending like the problem isn't as bad as it is, or hoping it'll magically disappear if we ignore it long enough. But here's the hard truth. You can't change what you won't confront. Rue. She spent so much time avoiding her reality, numbing her pain with addiction, pushing away the people who cared about her, and pretending like everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. And honestly, that's the fastest way to stay stuck. The longer you ignore what's really going on, the more control it has over you. But the moment Rue started to face her reality, things slowly began to shift. No, it didn't happen overnight. And no, it wasn't easy. But when you confront the truth, no matter how painful, you take the first step toward real change. Practical tip. So, how do you start facing your own reality? Here's the first step. Get brutally honest with yourself. Sit down and write out everything you've been avoiding. Is it your finances, a relationship that's not working, or maybe it's your own mindset that's holding you back? Here's the thing. Once it's all out in the open, it's not as scary. You can't fix what you're pretending doesn't exist. Rue had to face her addiction to start healing, and you have to face whatever's been weighing you down to start your healing. I get it. Facing your problems is about as fun as getting up early on a Monday morning. But you know what's worse? Letting them pile up until you can't see over them. So take off the hoodie, take a deep breath, and handle it like the boss you are. Step 5. Small steps equals big change. All right, ladies, we've made it to step 5. Small steps equals big change. Now, let's be real. When life feels overwhelming, it's easy to think you need to make some huge dramatic change overnight to fix everything. But that's not how real growth happens. It's the small, consistent steps that create the biggest transformations. Look at Rue. Her journey to recovery wasn't this perfect straight line where she woke up one day and suddenly had it all together. No, it was messy, but it was the small steps she took, going to a meeting, staying sober for just one day, then the next, that eventually helped her start reclaiming her life. Each small action, even when it felt pointless in the moment, was building something bigger. And that's exactly what happens in your life too. Small steps, repeated over time, lead to massive change. You don't need to fix everything today. Just focus on what you can do right now. Practical tip. So, how do you start creating big change in your life? Start small. Pick one thing, just one, and commit to doing it consistently. Maybe it's getting up a little earlier. Maybe it's journaling for 5 minutes before bed. Whatever it is, make it doable so you can stick with it. And here's the magic. Once you start stacking those small wins, the bigger changes start to follow. Each small step builds momentum, and suddenly you're moving toward the life you've always wanted, one small action at a time. I mean, we all love the idea of a total life transformation in 24 hours, but let's be honest, ain't nobody got time for that. Instead, start with the small stuff, and before you know it, those tiny steps will add up to something pretty major. And there you have it, ladies. 5 powerful steps to break free from the victim mindset and step into your true power. Remember, it's all about taking back control, facing your reality, and moving forward one small step at a time. Just like Rue, you have the ability to rewrite your story and become a Zendaya. So, which step are you starting with today? Drop a comment below and let me know. And if this resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, keep shining, keep growing, and remember, you've got this.